I'm not going to go over a whole lot of last week, but obviously you get a win on the road to open up conference play is really big, and I think we'll kind of leave it at that. It's behind us. I know there's a lot of positives, but there's a lot of things that we can learn from for us to get better. Playing on the road is different, and so it kind of starts there, and then we'll continue to move forward. But excited more so about getting back into this week. Back at home, obviously, is great for us. Homecoming weekend, exciting, just to, a little bit more energy, excitement back on campus, and back where we feel most comfortable, playing. So great atmosphere is what we expect. I expect a team that's come back in here fighting, scratching, and clawing, and that's what we would expect. They've got a lot of talent, a lot of speed. I think on both sides of the football, return game is really, really special at times, and so we've got to be really prepared.
When you went back over the tape,
I just said we were going to move on.
I know, but
okay.
I don't have to. You can. When you went back over the tape, was the performance at the line of scrimmage by the defense as dominant as it looked live?
No, we gave up a lot of yards rushing the year before. Our whole emphasis was not to dominate the line of scrimmage. It was to control the line of scrimmage, and it's a little bit different. So we played a little bit different, I thought, and really did a good job. Those guys really, kind of honed into what it is we asked them to do, because it at times can be a little different. And I think that's where some of your adjustments that people don't probably know and recognize, but those guys up front in particular did a really good job. I know people want to talk about sacks and things like that, but it all comes down to our ability to control line of scrimmage, stop the run game, put ourselves in a lot better situation than we were in the last 2 years, to be honest with you.
Whether it was Saturday or previous games, the ability to create pressure, just rushing 4 or sometimes 3, what does that do to take stress off the back end of the defense?
It does a lot. I mean, I think in general, you got to find ways to apply pressure. I think we're doing a good job at that. I think there's some things we got to do better, but I think in all, whether it's 3-man, 4-man, 5-man, at times there's 6 men coming, we've got the ability, maybe even more so this year, to mix it up a little bit, to not be as predictable. I think at least with our pressures and things like that, those guys have done a good job. And there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made in games. Like last week in particular, preparing maybe for a different quarterback, and then game time it kind of goes back and the original starters in there that just to shift the mentality of those things. So I give a lot of credit to those guys up front, maturity-wise, understanding what it is we need to do in each game to be successful, and they've done a really good job at that.
When you talk about just be us, do you feel like defensively you're getting pretty close to figuring out what that is?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we know what it is that we want, but I think that, we're kind of honing in a little bit better on it each and every week. You got to grow. And this isn't a team that, like we said, in the last 2 years, have had a lot of guys in the same positions that, you felt a little bit better about the things that you were going to do and adjust wise each and every week. And so I think this, as we develop what us is, it's also how much can we grow as who we are throughout the entire season. I think that has a lot to do with it. It's not just the things that you play. It's also week in, week out, the things that you can adjust and adapt to.
Moving ahead, South Florida's a bit of a weird team. They pass the ball a bit, but they struggle to get a passing touchdown through the first 4 games. What do you see from them offensively?
Well, I do think they're a little bit, back and forth. I think that, I think they know they've got talent. I think they know they've got speed at the wide receiver position. They know they got to get the balls into those guys' hands. So I think maybe early on they were trying to force things a little bit differently. Quarterback is not new. Obviously, he was a starter last year at Baylor, played 12 games or 13 games, led him to the championship. But he didn't come till the fall. So I think that all in all, they probably had a good idea the first 4 or 5 games were going to be, a bit of development for what it is they're going to be in. So maybe they're not where they want to be, but I do believe that they've got the pieces, they've got the talent. I think they're a little bit back and forth with the guys running the football and throwing the football. But I know as a coach, you sit there and look at, okay, maybe they haven't won, but I think they had 400 and some yards of total offense last week, throwing the ball, running the ball. It's a group that, like I said, anytime a guy's back's against the wall, you're going to get their best.
You mentioned controlling the line of scrimmage. statistically, you guys lead the country in TFLs, sacks. What is it that is so elite this season about pressuring the backfield?
I think our ability a little bit this year of mixing some things up. We're not maybe as static. Yes, we play some similar coverage things, but I think our ability to mix it up a little bit, giving guys two-way goes, to allow them to apply pressure. Obviously, you can't deny the fact that, Ivan Pace is a really good guy inside there that creates some havoc, and the more havoc he creates, he also creates a lot more one-on-ones for the guys on edges and even the nose guard. So I think where we are right now is, we're still growing, but I think that those guys are able to play off of each other. We're able to create, not saying mismatches, but when you're trying to create some confusion, not just for the quarterback, for the guys up front, it gives you a little bit better chance maybe to make some of those havoc plays. And I think the combination of having those guys up front that understand it, the combination of being able to, have a guy like Ivan that's a little bit more of a dynamic plugger than maybe we've had in the last couple years. He's created a little bit more, not knowing or hesitation maybe sometimes from the guys up front, which has allowed our guys to kind of take advantage of. We got to continue to do that, but as you move along, people obviously do a good job at scouting. You have better, game plans for what you're doing. So we've got to continue to grow as well. But I think that combination has allowed us to obviously create some of those plays.
Felt like we've been waiting for Deshaun to kind of make a splash play than we did last year. He had a couple Saturday. What was it that maybe took him a while to get going, or the game planning against him?
Well, no, I do think that you've got to make the plays that come your way, and as we saw with maybe a guy like I'm not putting him in that, but Majay last year in the first 5, 6, 7 games, I mean everything he was trying to do was almost like I want to go do this, and he really didn't put himself in the best position, wasn't making a lot of plays. People obviously did some things different, and I think maybe even in the early on, that's where DP was a little bit like, hey, I got to go make these plays. I had this many interceptions, and sometimes you start pressing and not doing the things that you need to do, and make the plays that come your way because you're trying to do some other things. So all those things, I think he's still a younger guy, and being a second-year guy, I didn't think anything of it in the first 4 games. Maybe his stats weren't like they were the year before, but I know that it does put a little pressure on them, and you can see them press. But I think he, more comfortable in where he's at. Obviously, as we kind of develop who we are. I mean, when they're having create a lot of tackles for losses and some of those situations, things aren't getting to the second level. When things aren't getting to the second level, sometimes those second level guys don't have as many opportunities to make plays. So you got to look at it as a whole, and I think that's where I think we're getting better at that, of recognizing, understanding. It may be a little bit different, and you just got to focus in on make the plays that come your way.
Finally got one into the end zone too. Did you give him credit?
Yeah. He finally. I thought he was going to come down there short about the 1 yard line, but like I said, maybe he's grown a little bit too and figured out where that end line is.
Coach Fickell, you talk about continuing to grow. I imagine it's not easy to be the team that replaces the team. But is this team really starting to believe, like, hey, we're a pretty doggone good football team too, and do you feel like they're carving their own identity?
Yeah, I do. I don't think that if you sat in these, if you stood up here and you had a team meeting, you would see that there's a group of guys that lack any confidence. And, from the time we started, fall camp, maybe coaches know the areas that we need to grow and some of the, deficiencies that you think that you're going to have to develop throughout the entire season. But it's a group that I don't think they see that. They don't think that. So it's a very confident group. In some ways, that's where we had to kind of humble ourselves after some situations. But I do believe they're growing into their own, recognizing who they are and how we have to do things maybe a little bit different from what we've done maybe even the last 2 years. And that kind of comes back to some of that DP and second-level guys. Maybe there's not as many opportunities because some of those first-level guys are creating some different things. So it's all got to work together, and it's all got to continue to grow. But I think we're in a good place, both offensively and defensively and special teams as well.
You talk often about the explosive plays. Those have been coming a lot through the air with Tyler, but you got 2 big ones in the run game this following week. Are you liking where that progression is going with the run game?
It's always about balance, I say every week. Yes, obviously you want those big plays. Big plays don't happen because, a guy makes 4 or 5 guys miss reality. Big plays, especially in the run game, happen when you get the guy to the second level. And when you get the guy to the second level means you've done a good job up front. You've controlled the line of scrimmage. Now it all comes down to the extra efforts of those wide receivers and those Jim Kellys of the world downfield blocking like he did in his time here. To create those 10-yard runs into those 45, 50-yard runs, hopefully touchdowns if we don't get caught, but that's beside the point. But I think that's where we're continuing to grow. I think those guys on the outside have done a really good job, not just catching the ball, but blocking downfield. But for a couple weeks, we didn't do as good a job at the line of scrimmage to get those guys into that second level where they have a chance, not just to make one guy miss, but also to use the people that are out there as well. So I don't want us to think it's all about home run shots. It's about the ability to wear people down. It's about the ability to get those guys to the second level and allow the extra efforts of the world to create some of the things that we do.
Luke, I'm not sure if you're aware, if you win this weekend, you tie Rick Minter for most wins in program history. Already shaking your head. Is that meaningful?
Well, because he yelled at him a couple weeks ago, and I said something about a 50th win. I said, well, I think Zach would have told me that, but he says he did, but I don't listen to him half the time anyway. So he came in today and said something about that, and I about strangled him at that time too. So it has no bearing on what it is that we do. Not something I think a whole lot about, and I sure as heck don't think that the kids that sit in these seats think a whole lot about that. It's another opportunity for us to continue to move forward.
A follow-up, if I may, on that. Your profession is one that it's constant change. Guys move around all the time. For you to be here 6 years, the consistency you've brought to the program, how meaningful do you think that is to what you do in your profession?
I think it's the only way to create, sustained success. I do. I mean, just because when you don't have some continuity, and I know coaches are going to change, but some stability and continuity, it's really hard for young guys to grow. And I know this world today is, transfer portal, and everyone wants to talk about those things, and that's not who we are. That's not how we grow the program. But there's got to be some stability in what's going on to give 18 to 22-year-olds a chance to grow. And that's where I think we've done a really good job, not because of me, but I think because we've been able to keep the key pieces in place here, from our strength program to what we've done offensively to what we've done defensively. We haven't really changed. We've grown, but we haven't changed, and that stability has given our kids a much greater opportunity to grow, to play above the talent levels at which they have, and to play together, to be quite honest. And to me, I think that as we continue to see how this college football era the next 10 years goes, I think you're going to see the ones that have more stability are going to be the ones that in the long run are going to be those programs that year in and year out are going to be really good.
On that note, what goes through your mind when you see 5 coaches fired through the first 5 weeks of the season?
Bad. I think it's really a bad place that we are and we're headed in this profession. Look, I have no say over it, but I think it's a little sad, to be honest with you, to see a guy like Paul Christ, who has been in his place as long as he has and done what he's done, to be out after 5 or so games. And same thing at Nebraska. Maybe just your alma mater. Look, I don't know what's going on there, but I just think it's a bad trend, for our kids, not for us. We're professionals. I mean, we understand that you're evaluated on wins and losses, but I think the example that we're setting for our young guys about, hey, if it's not right, just change it and get rid of it in the middle of what you're doing. No wonder we have more and more transfers, and it's a bigger deal. And in our world, they're doing it with coaches too.
On that note, there was also a report yesterday that there's a team in conference that some of their players have decided after 4 games they're going to redshirt the rest of the year. And
I don't know
transfer.
That you can't go in the transfer portal.
That's what they're doing is they're at their 4-game limit.
They're redshirting. So
they're redshirting and then going into the portal. Like, that's the new thing that came up with the transfer.
You always got to be aware of what's going on, and to me, there's things that we're going to continue to do better. I mean, if you don't notice, we took 82 or 83 guys to the game this past week, and a lot of conferences have limitations to the amount of guys you can take on the road. I think that's ridiculous. Being that, what are you going to do? Leave more guys at home to wonder what's going on and do whatever on the weekend. So we try to take as many kids as we can to make them a part of what it is that we're doing, especially the guys that are injured. It wasn't their fault that they got hurt and are out for the season. I think all those things are things that we got to continue to, the stability of creating an environment where, the easiest thing is not just to take off, but there's some other commitment levels. But every program is different. They tried to eliminate that by saying, hey, there's no transfer portal until after the season. But there's always going to be, people finding ways to do what's best for them individually. And I don't blame them. I just think that it's tougher on programs. That's why it's really critical to, take care of what you got in your own place and don't worry about all the others.
Living under a rock.
This rock, not just a rock. There's 125 of these 18 to 22-year-olds. It's not a little rock.
Any other questions? Justin, you go.
Oh, one more.
Sorry. Second straight week, offenses seem to stall a little bit in the second half. Is there one explanation? Is there anything you found kind of looking back at both games?
No, I don't. I guess I didn't quite. I mean, obviously the week before it was the situation that it was. This past week, no. I think, the type of game it was, both sides of the ball. You get into the fourth quarter, it's a little bit of management. I thought, the most impressive thing is the first down coming off the goal line there, with 4 or 5 minutes to go in the game. So wasn't quite as, looking at statistics of the second half with that. But we know we've got to stay aggressive. We know we've got to, not, just kind of get into that rut and that groove, but continue to move forward with what it is we're doing, both sides of the ball, but especially in the second half. So nothing that jumps out at you. You give them some credit for maybe making some adjustments and making some plays. I just think that, we got to keep the momentum when we have it.
We've talked about Ben's strengths and maybe a different offensive strengths. In the past, you guys have grinded out games at the end because you've grinded them out at the beginning. Is part of it kind of adjusting to maybe a new
It
look?
may be. I mean, there's no doubt that, developing who us is and looks like is an ongoing thing. And we can say what we want to be, but the reality is, you're going to do what you're good at. And I think that's where we're still, trying to figure out exactly, both offensively and defensively, what are we really good at? What are we going to hang our hat on? And when it comes down to it, what's going to win us, games and give us a chance to play for a championship? And, that's where I would say we're still in a development stage of what we're doing. And it's not because, well, what do you mean? You had 24 practices and you've had 5 games. I know, but there's still a lot of things that we're developing.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
We'll have Jabari Taylor and Javon Hicks shortly. All right, we got 6th-year senior defensive end Jabari Taylor here. Questions for
Jabari, have you ever been part of a performance like that where it just felt everybody that was getting after the quarterback was having success?
I have. I can't remember exactly what game it was. I don't know if it was last year or COVID year, but honestly, no. I mean, I haven't. I mean, we set the record. I mean, we didn't set the record in the past. So, but yeah, it was it was a cool thing to know when when everybody got to saying something about it. And, you see things online and such. But no, that's my first time. Yeah.
Did it feel like you were like maybe breaking the will of the offensive line as the game went on?
I mean, like that's the idea. We kind of try to control the line of scrimmage, break down the line of scrimmage, beat the man across from you and such. But I mean, I mean, yeah, we knew we were getting pressure. Yeah, it's just we were hoping we were doing it in the right way.
Like the big picture part of things, obviously there's a vision as one of the leaders of this unit that you want to see. Are you guys getting close to that? Do you feel the growth there?
We've got a lot of growth, and then we've still got a lot of growing to do. How should I say? We have grown a lot, but we still have a lot of growing to do still. Like for instance, the game can get a little chippy. Being a senior leader and such, kind of letting that get under my skin a tad bit. Not saying I was showing out or acting out or any of that. But, trying to keep my composure and such as well, some of the younger guys and other guys on the team, I'd say, did a very good job of, letting me know that, it's all good. You're not the only one out here going through it all, brother, So I'd say the team did a good job of leading me and, knowing how the game was going and such. But yeah.
We asked Fick about this too, but when you can get home with 3 or 4 guys rushing, what does that do for the rest of the defense behind you?
I believe that gives everybody a lot of freedom and comfortability, especially with the linebackers. With them knowing that we're eating up blocks and such like that, and then consistently bringing pressure. That puts an ease on the guys in the back end, who's got to run 40, 50, 60 yards every play and such, and hopefully, that's how we want it to feel. But at the same time, we want them to, be able to have confidence in their job and what they're doing as well, just, in case, that day comes where we're not bringing necessarily the same amount of pressure.
Everybody wants to talk about the sacks because you set the record, but was it more satisfying to shut down their run game after the success they've had on the ground the past couple of years?
Yes, because that was one of our main focuses was the run, let everything else come. At the end of the day, they had 297 yards from us rushing last year, and I'm not going to lie to you, that's kind of all that was on my mind all game, and I was kind of hoping they ran the ball a little bit more. I can't really remember. I think they had about, I don't want to exactly quote it. I can't remember exactly, but I mean, I guess we were making the plays when we needed to, but yeah.
Not that you guys forgot, but this being the first conference game, was it maybe a little bit of a nice reminder of what you're going to see from these teams who are gunning after you guys, having won it the past couple of years?
Yeah, because, we've especially starting off conference play on the road in a place against a team who in the past, we know they were gunning for us and such. The results might not have been what they wanted necessarily in the past few years. So we know we were circled on their schedule. They were going to give us what they had, and like we were talking about earlier, they had 300 yards rushing on us. So it's hard to not think that they didn't believe in themselves to be able to do that again. But being on the road at a chippy place like that, and to start off conference play, it is a challenge. And I mean, after this bye week, I don't see not this week coming up, but the week after USF, I can see the same type of challenge when we gotta go visit UCF and all.
As you head into this weekend, obviously homecoming is this weekend. Talk about the excitement as you've been here for 6 years. Talk about that excitement you have heading into another homecoming game for you.
I mean, it's always a great experience. Everybody gets to come home, all the past players and such. And, the guys who have been, they've been off handling their business and such, just asking you how the games are going, telling you to keep going and such. It's nice to see all those guys on the sideline and in the locker room with you again. Those guys from the 2018 teams, 2020 teams and such, and even last year. But it brings another level of excitement because I feel like it brings another level of support as well, because it's more of a I should say it feels more of like a family type thing instead of just like a team thing, because it's everybody who has come through here and who's been through here, who's floating around the facility and such throughout the week, knowing it's homecoming and such like that. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Any other questions for Jabari? Cool. Thank you, sir.
No. No.
Good afternoon, y'all.
Questions?
This is it looks a lot like a Colerain defense out there from time to time. You were the old head at Colerain with all these young guys, and now it's the same here. How cool has that been to kind of go through this a second time with all these dudes?
It's extremely cool. I finally get the chance to play with Dante. This is my first time actually playing with him. But overall, it feels good. I feel like the connection between all 4 or 5 of us is very well, and like you said, we're all playing very well this season.
How much is having Coach Combs? I know he didn't coach you guys.
Mm-hmm.
He was a legend, when you guys were there. How cool is that having him back and being able to experience that?
It's extremely cool. You can tell the pride he has for Colerain and how hard on the Colerain guys he is. Not that he's not hard on everybody else, but he expects a lot from us, and I feel like we're being able to achieve the things that he's expecting out of us.
He talks more high school trash than anybody in the program, right? Like
As he
he
should.
finds people
Yeah,
to let them know Colerain took care of business against them, right?
right.
Marshall, then Keith.
You mentioned playing with Dante. I spoke with him earlier, and he told me a dream come true was when he got a tackle in the backfield and he had that big celebration in front of the crowd, knowing that it's another Colerain guy, saying his dream came true. But the stadium, he grew up going to games too. Just how cool is that for you?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
How cool is it to see Dante told us earlier that it was a dream come true when he had a big celebration after a sack earlier in the season, knowing that another Colerain guy had his dream come true at Nip. Just how cool is that for you, generation-wise?
It's extremely cool. Playing in front of your hometown, your home fans and stuff like that. I think like when we take that field and you're from Cincinnati, it feels a little bit different. You have a bit of an edge on your shoulder and stuff like that, you're playing in front of a lot of Cincinnatians and stuff like that. So it feels good though.
You guys have 4 defensive touchdowns this season. I think that leads the nation. You have one of those.
Mm-hmm.
How key and important is it to put up those points defensively and help out the offense?
It's extremely important. Sometimes, like, the offense isn't clicking right then and there, and sometimes the defense needs to step up and make a play, and vice versa. But definitely it has shows that we're able to put up points and we're able to create turnovers to get the offense back the ball and stuff like that. But being able to put the ball in the end zone is extremely good. We haven't been able to do that for years, and this year is showing that we can score too.
That hit you landed over the middle. It's tough to do that anymore and not get flagged. You did a good job staying low. Is that something you guys practice, and what's going through your mind in that split second when you have to make that hit?
To answer your question, no, we don't practice that. It was kind of just instinct to go low and not try to hit him with my head and stuff like that. I try to kind of aim like right where the hip and the rib was, and I was successful at it. Yeah.
Maybe on the other side, threats get hit with that targeting call. What do you guys, whether it's in the game or after the game, come in on Sunday, what do you guys talk about with a play like that and how to avoid it moving forward?
I don't think we talk about it at all. It just kind of, he has to understand at the same time he has to be smart too. And that's that. For anybody, I think we all got to be smart and not try to lead with our head, because it's a different football game nowadays and stuff like that. We got to stay safe.
9 career picks for you. Your background as a wide receiver, how does that help you with your ball skills and your ability to track the ball?
It helps extremely well. Being able to feel different things out from a receiver standpoint, and then being able to track the ball in the air too. But also I have to give credit to the D-line too, because they're making the quarterback throw the ball anywhere, and it's my job to go, or our job in the back end to go get the ball when the ball's in the air.
Came up with that huge interception there on Saturday. Walk us through what you saw from that play and how you were able to make that play.
I was just kind of in my back pedal. Coach Hicks was just telling me to weave to the boundary most of the game and stuff like that, because that's where the quarterback was throwing the ball more often. And I kind of did that, and I kind of gained ground, and I was just reading the quarterback and he just lofted the ball in there, and I just went to go make a play.
Coach Fickell is 1 win away from tying the record here at UC for most coaching wins of all time. How aware is the team of this? Has he said anything about this?
No. I don't think we will ever hear nothing about that. I kind of just think like we just go out there and play. We don't really worry about all the accolades that come with it. I feel like we just go out there and play, and the results take care of itself.
How important has he been to this program, do you think?
He's extremely important. I feel like we're behind him no matter what, the way he leads this program, and like he's such a great leader, such a great coach, and he wants everybody to be successful on and off the field. And it's showing that we're a great program and that we can compete with anybody.
Lastly, for me, if you win, it'll be 30 consecutive wins at Nippert Stadium. How much pride do you guys take in having the second longest home winning streak in the country?
We're extremely prideful when we go out there on that field, especially in the NIP. It's just a different feeling. I don't plan on losing at home no time soon.